Thank you, counsel. Proceed.
Mr. Fung, could you tell us precisely what questions Mr. Goldberg asked you and what answers you gave him?
I don't recall the exact wording. But it was something along the lines of me recounting to him the events that led from picking up the certain items, the last items I collected before going to the truck and leaving the Rockingham scene.
How long did this conversation take?
3 or 4 minutes.
One moment, Your Honor. Do you recall how many questions Mr. Goldberg asked you? Approximately.
Maybe 1 or 2.
Was there any discussion of the videotapes?
No. We only discussed that we could not discuss the videotapes.
But when you had this discussion with him, you had already seen some of these videotapes.
On this monitor here.
Okay. Now,
Yes.
have you had any conversations before you came here to testify with anyone else other than withdrawn? Did you speak about this matter with any other district attorney?
No.
Did you speak about it with Detective Van Adder?
No.
Did you speak about it with Detective Lang?
No.
Speak about it with anybody from law enforcement?
No.
Did you speak about it with anybody at the crime lab?
No.
Did you speak about this issue with anyone since the moment that you left the witness stand yesterday to the time you came back to answer some questions this morning?
No.
All right. Why don't we show this sort of video?
All right. Which video do you propose to show, Mr. Scheck?
Starting a little 11:01. All right. Stop. All right. Maybe we want it just a little bit. All right, stop. Stop. Okay, Mr. Fung, that is you, correct?
Yes, it is.
That is Andrea Mazzola, we just saw?
Behind me.
Is that right?
Behind me, yes.
All right. To the right, you see a little yellow card on the ground?
Yes.
That's one of those markers that you put down to indicate where maybe the items of evidence are.
Items that are, it's an item for photo ID.
Yes. And that was of an item that you did not collect.
That was, yes.
Okay. Now, approaching here, you see a police officer and you see a car, do you not?
Yes.
Okay, let's roll it. All right, let's stop right here. Now, that's a black and white police car, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you and Ms. Mazzola have just passed it.
Yes.
And this is the afternoon of June 13th.
Yes, it is.
All right. And coming up, you see a space in front of that black and white police car.
Yes.
All right, let's roll it. Now, let's stop. Now, you just walked past the black and white police car, and there was an extended space until you hit this next vehicle.
Yes.
Okay, let's roll it.
Excuse me, Mr. Scheck, do you want the sound on this?
Yes, we do, as a matter of fact. Thank you very much. I think we started off with the sound. Stop. Now, after that, let's rewind it for a second just to make sure we've got everything exactly right. Stop. Okay. Roll it through. All right, that's the space we were talking about, the cars. Here's another gray car, correct?
Yes.
All right, stop. Now that's a brown car, correct?
Yes.
Okay, let's move forward. Stop. Now this is a white van, correct?
Yes.
But that is not Mr. Simpson's Ford Bronco, is it?
No, it is not.
Mr. Simpson's Ford Bronco was not at this location as you were walking out in the afternoon of June 13th at Rockingham.
Not at the time
Right.
in this
Okay.
video.
All right, let's stop. Now that's you, and you have in your right hand a black valise,
Yes.
and in your left hand you have a number of paper bags.
Yes.
And Miss Mazzola, she has a clipboard.
Yes.
Is that a posse box or a clipboard? Can you tell?
It's a posse box.
All right. And she has another black, what is that, an evidence kit in her hand?
It's yes, part of the evidence kit.
All right. And this was the first videotape that we showed you this morning.
Yes.
Okay. Let's roll it. That's you putting your valise in, putting the paper bags in. Ms. Mazzola putting the posse box and the black valise in, correct?
Yes.
Shutting the door. Let's listen carefully. Okay, let's just reverse for a second. All right, stop. Let's kill this tape. Now that's you saying, let's make one last check.
Yes.
Okay. Next videotape we showed you, we're causing a subsequent videotape this morning, which is a more extended shot of you walking out at that time to the car, to the van, putting the bags and the valise in, and then walking back, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Harris, which exhibit is this?
This is 1102.
1102.
And that's a photograph of one of those evidence markers, correct?
Yes.
Two of them? Now, this is you and Ms. Mazzola coming out again. Stop. Stop, please. Now, that was, again, the black and white car, correct?
Yes.
And this is now you're walking past the space where, in front of that black and white car.
Yes.
All right, let's proceed. There's that gray van. And the next car is a brown one, correct?
Yes.
You're carrying those bags in your left hand in the valise. Now we see some video people coming, correct? And that's you putting the paper bags in the valise in, and Miss Mazzola putting the posse box and the evidence kit in, correct?
Yes.
This is a point where you close the door, and in the audio of that last tape we heard you say, let's go back for one more check, correct?
Yes.
And now we see you and Miss Mazzola going back for one more check, correct?
Yes.
Now you're picking up those evidence tags, correct?
Yes.
First two. Now you're picking up the third one. All right, stop. Going back inside. Okay?
Yes.
We have the, I'm informed that we have the
Yes,
complete tape.
I'm just queuing it up. I believe it's queued up to the right spot. You might want to have Mr. Harris check that. And the protective ear is out of it. To be the same clip?
It appears to be, Your Honor.
All right.
All right, now, Mr. Fung, this is a clip of you and Miss Mazzola coming out of Rockingham, correct?
Yes.
And this took place after that first set of footage, correct?
Yes.
So first, the first two tapes that we saw at two different angles are you and Miss Mazzola leaving. You're carrying brown bags in one hand, black valise in the other, correct?
Yes.
And Miss Mazzola is carrying the posse box, correct?
Yes.
And another black case, correct?
Yes.
And you put all of that in the evidence truck.
Yes.
And the way that you just saw those two tapes are the way that you first saw them this afternoon, correct?
Yes.
And the way that you saw them is that as you and I discussed it, I pointed out the location of cars as you walked down the street, correct?
Yes.
We followed those very carefully, just as we did with the jury.
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is you leaving after your last check, correct?
This is me leaving the scene. Yes.
Yes. Okay, let's roll it here. Okay, let's stop. Now, the man behind you is a photographer named Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
and he's from SID, correct?
Yes, he is.
And as you were walking out that door, if you want to see it again, you have nothing in your hands,
That's correct.
all right? You do not have a gray envelope in your hands.
That's correct.
You do not have a brown paper bag in your hands.
That's correct.
You do not have a posse box in your hand.
That's correct.
Now, Ms. Mazzola, in in her left hand, she has what appears to be a black plastic bag.
Yes.
Let's roll it. Okay, let's stop. Okay. Now, that videotape shows you walking out the front door, correct?
Yes.
This is the second trip now.
Of the videotapes, yes.
Can we rerun that? Just rerun. Let's see if, there's a cut here, and I'd like you to concentrate if we can see the cars just at the point of the cut. Okay, let's see. Let's stop. You do see that, from this angle at least, we can see that white van, correct?
Yes.
And we see a space behind it, correct?
Yes.
All right. Let's play the next tape. We're going to cue it up. And while Mr. Harris is finding it, Mr. Fung, you recall that this tape is going to depict a more complete view of you and Miss Mazzola on the second trip, walking down the driveway and then at Rockingham and then down Rockingham, correct? Well, let's just let him see it.
Sustain. All right. Which tape is this, Mr. Harris?
We're back to 1103.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Now let's take a look at this, Mr. Fung. Okay, now, before we start it, that's you and Miss Mazzola again on your second trip, correct?
On the second trip of the videotapes, yes.
All right. And that is a continuation of the video that we just saw where the two of you walk out the door.
Yes.
And on the ground, you notice that there are no evidence tags, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you have, you're not carrying any paper bags.
That's correct.
You're not carrying a posse box.
That's correct.
You're not carrying a gray envelope.
That's correct.
Let's roll it. Now, let's pay careful attention to the cars, sir. All right, stop. Stop. That is the black and white car, correct?
Yes.
All right. And let's move it. Stop. Now, that's a new car, isn't it?
A new car?
Well, that car wasn't there the first time in the first sequence we saw, correct?
In the first video sequence, no.
Right. That car wasn't there when you and Miss Mazzola walked down the driveway at Rockingham, walked down the street at Rockingham, and put the brown paper bags, the valise, into the back of the crime scene truck, correct?
That's correct.
That car wasn't there when Ms. Mazzola put the posse box into the crime scene truck?
It didn't appear in the video, no.
All right, it wasn't there, right?
Well, it's vague as to whether he's talking about video or...
Sustained. Rephrase the question, please.
Mr. Fung, you know that that gray car is the gray car that Detective Van Adder used to drive to Rockingham on the afternoon of June 13th.
Yes,
And that gray car wasn't there when you first, in that first set of video clips when you came out, correct?
that's correct.
And you saw that this afternoon, did you not?
The video,
Yes,
yes,
in this order.
yes.
Let's run it. All right? Now that's you and Miss Mazzola walking down the street. Stop. Now, as that ended, sir, could we just go back to the very, very end and stop it? Just let's stop it, Mr. Harris, at the very end as they're walking by the truck. There. Okay. Now, you and Miss Mazzola are not putting anything into the back of the evidence truck at that point, are you?
Not at that point, no.
You're walking towards the front of the car, correct?
I was walking towards the passenger door.
Now, when you saw these videotapes this morning, Mr. Fung, you saw the first clip, the first trip out from Rockingham, where you were carrying the brown paper bags and the valise, correct?
Yes,
And on that first trip, the gray car that Detective Van Adder drove on June 13th to Rockingham wasn't there, was it?
Assumes facts not in evidence, and it's vague as to which area...
Sustained. Rephrase the question.
When you saw the tape this morning, and we reviewed the cars on that first trip, you did not see the gray car that Detective Van Adder drove to Rockingham in that first trip video, correct?
Still assumes fact not in evidence.
Overruled.
I did not see the gray car on the first trip.
Right. But you did see that the gray car was there on the second trip, correct?
Yes,
Now, on the first trip, that's the time that you put the brown paper bags into the back of the crime scene truck, right?
yes,
The first trip is when you put the black valise into the back of the crime scene truck.
yes,
The first trip is when Miss Mazzola put the posse bags into the back of the crime scene truck.
yes,
And when you saw these series of tapes, Mr. Fung, you realized that you had been caught in a lie, didn't you?
no,
Well, you had told this jury yesterday that you carried the blood sample either in a brown paper bag, in the posse box, or in your hands, correct?
that's what I stated.
But when you saw the videotape, these videotapes, you realized, sir, that Detective Van Adder's car wasn't there when you put the brown paper bags and the posse box was put in the rear of the crime scene vehicle, correct?
That didn't come to my attention at that time, no.
Mr. Fung, this afternoon when we looked at the videotapes, we did it in a similar fashion to the way we just did it in front of the jury, didn't we?
Yes,
Overruled.
That is, I went over the tapes with you and I called your attention to the cars.
yes,
And I called your attention with respect to the second trip to the fact that Detective Van Adder's car was in the second sequence but not the first, correct?
at a later time, yes,
And when that was called to your attention, you realized that if Detective Van Adder was not at Rockingham at the time that you put the brown paper bags in the valise and Ms. Mazzola put the posse box in the back of the evidence truck, that there was no way that at that point in time you could have been putting the blood sample into the car.
Documented and also videotapes don't fit everything.
Sustain a phrase question.
You realized when you saw the videotapes this afternoon that you could no longer maintain the position that you had put the blood sample.
Try again.
Great.
Try
Sorry?
again.
Try-
Maintain the position. Try again.
You could no longer say that the gray envelope was in a brown paper bag.
I had forgotten about the plastic bag until this morning.
You could no longer say, after you saw the videos, that you were carrying the gray manila envelope within a brown paper bag, correct? You knew you couldn't say that after seeing these videotapes.
It refreshed my memory.
Well, my question, sir, is after
It's already amended. He's asking that.
Overruled.
after you saw the videotapes, you realized that you could not have been carrying the gray manila envelope in a brown paper bag because Detective Van Adder wasn't there yet when you were shown putting brown paper bags into the truck, correct?
Assumes facts, not in evidence.
Overruled.
Did you realize that?
That was one of the conclusions I came to, yes.
And you realized that you could not have carried the manila envelope in the posse box because when the posse box was put into the crime scene truck, Detective Van Adder's car wasn't there, correct?
Again, I remembered that
My question to you, sir, is simply, you knew when you saw those videotapes that you could not have carried the gray manila envelope in the posse box and put it in the back of the crime scene truck, yes or no?
I came to that conclusion by watching that, yes.
And when you saw both videotapes, you came to the conclusion that you could not say that you had carried the gray manila envelope in your hands, yes or no?
Because my recollection
Yes or
was
no?
refreshed.
Let me finish the question. He's not
That your memory
restricted.
was refreshed.
He's
Yes.
not restricted, counsel.
Now, could we show Fung, had you ever seen those clips, video clips, withdrawn? Now I'm going to show you the beginning of your trip app.
This is 11:03, 11:04.
All right, let's stop. Now, do you recall this morning, about this point when you were being shown this tape, the judge asked you a question?
Yes.
And the judge asked you what was in...
Your Honor, this is not proper impeachment. There's no foundation for it.
Overruled.
What was in...
This isn't the point where I asked that question, though, counsel.
But Your Honor, if you tell me the point, your memory, I'm sure, is better than mine. I don't want to get anything wrong. If you could tell us where at the point in the tape it is.
Keep going. No, no,
Is it on the other tape?
no, it's further in this tape. Keep going. You can bring it up to real time, Mr. Harris. Right there.
Right there? All right. Now, at this point in the tape, Judge Ito asked you what was in the plastic bag being carried by Miss Mazzola.
Yes.
And you told him the gray manila envelope containing Mr. Simpson's blood sample.
He misstates the testimony.
Overruled.
It was something to that effect.
That's not a brown paper bag, is it?
No, it's not.
It's not a posse box.
No, it's not.
It's not you holding that gray manila envelope in your hands, is it?
I had forgotten about the plastic bag.
After you realized that you couldn't say that the gray manila envelope was in a brown paper bag or in the posse box or you carried it in your own hands, the judge asked you the question, you made up the fact that it was in that plastic bag, didn't you?
Argument.
Sustained. No, you can't, Mr. Neufeld.
Sorry,
Proceed.
Again yesterday, and I'm starting at page 22443, on cross-examination, where you asked these questions and did you give these answers? Question. So to the best of your recollection, Detective Van Adder handed you a gray envelope and he just had it in his hand. Answer, to the best of my recollection, yes. And then, question, and then after you received that gray envelope, what did you do with it? Answer, I wrote on the envelope that I received it from him and I put the time, date, and my initials. Question, and what did you do with the envelope at that point? Answer, I looked inside to make sure that there was a vial in it and that it was in the condition that was unopened, and I put it in the crime scene struck. Were you asked those questions and did you give those answers?
Yes, I did.
Now, you knew before you ever came to testify in this case, sir, that the issue of whether or not you actually got the gray manila envelope from Officer Van Adder on June 13th would be a subject of contention at this trial?
I did not know that.
In your meetings with the district attorney, did you not discuss that you might be cross-examined on this issue?
That was a subject that came up.
How many times?
I don't recall.
You testified at a proceeding in August of 1994.
I don't recall that, which one
Do
it
you
was.
recall a hearing where Mr. Neufeld asked you some questions in August of 1994?
Yes,
And at that proceeding, Ms. Mazzola also testified, did she not?
at a later time, yes.
Well, next day,
I don't recall. when
soon
she
after
did.
you?
Yes,
And I think you've indicated to us before, sir, that after that proceeding, you and Ms. Mazzola had some conversations, trying to reconstruct the events of June 13th.
at a later time, yes.
So you were familiar, in some measure, as to what she testified to at that hearing.
We didn't go over her testimony.
Well, you discussed the details of events that were the subject matter of her testimony.
Calls for speculation. Unless he was there.
Overruled.
Mainly, we tried to just find out who did the actual picking up of evidence.
Well, was it Mr. Simpson's blood sample a piece of evidence?
Yes, it was.
An important piece of evidence.
Yes,
And you knew it would be a very important piece of evidence in this case, didn't you?
it was an important piece of evidence.
And were you aware that Ms. Mazzola had taken the position at this hearing in August that she did not see you get the blood sample from Detective Van Adder on June 13th?
Sustains.
In
Assumes
your-
facts not in evidence.
I'm sorry?
Assumes facts that aren't in evidence, counsel.
After your conversations during your conversations with Ms. Mazzola, after her testimony in August, did you learn that she did not remember seeing you get Mr. Simpson's
Sustained.
blood sample?
Sustained.
Did you discuss with Ms. Mazzola after the hearing in August whether or not she had seen you get Mr. Simpson's blood sample on June 13th?
I don't recall discussing that with her.
No recollection of that?
No.
Did it come to your attention from anyone that Ms. Mazzola did not recall you receiving Mr. Simpson's blood sample on June 13th?
Your Honor,
Sustained.
may
Were
we
you-
approach- May we approach?
No.
Were you told,
Your Honor, can the jury be admonished to disregard counsel's questions?
I've already told the jury, I've instructed the jury that if I sustain an objection, they're to disregard the implication of any question. Proceed.
were you told by Michelle Kessler that sometime after August 1994, that Andrea Mazzola
Sustained.
Checked, Your Honor.
Sustained. Counsel, this whole line needs to be done in a different way. And we're wasting time. If you're going to keep doing that, I'm going to stop you right here.
Your Honor, I don't mean to waste the court's time. I'm merely, I think, trying to figure out. Did you ever sit down with Ms. Mazzola after August and review the testimony that you gave and she gave during that hearing?
No.
Did you ever discuss the testimony that you gave, and she gave at that hearing after August?
No.
You did have conversations with Ms. Mazzola about your testimony at this trial.
It's a little vague as to testimony in this trial.
Sustained.
You did have conversations with Ms. Mazzola prior to testifying at this trial and after August of 1994.
Also, it's been asked and answered.
Overruled.
I did have conversations with her.
Yeah, didn't you have conversations with Ms. Mazzola after August of 1994 and before your testimony at this trial concerning the subject matter of your testimony at this trial?
Some of the subject matter, yes.
And did you not, in conversations with Ms. Mazzola prior to this trial and after August, discuss with her the subject matter of her testimony?
It's still vague and overbroad.
Overruled.
I don't understand what do you mean by her testimony?
What she might testify to at this trial.
We went over tried to put together the events of the crime scene in regards to the collection of what we did and who did what.
I'm sorry, are you finished?
Yes.
And one of the things that you discussed with Ms. Mazzola was the collection of Mr. Simpson's blood sample.
I don't recall specifically talking about the blood vial because it just wasn't a subject that had to do with that blood collection as far as picking up blood swatches and things like that.
Mr.
That's
Fung
basically what we discussed.
never had a discussion with Andrea Mazzola about when Mr. Simpson's blood sample was collected.
I don't recall any specific conversations, no.
On direct examination, you were asked some questions about a document where Andrea Mazzola had written that Mr. Simpson's blood sample was item number 18, and the sneakers that Detective Lang gave you on June 14th were number 17.
That's correct.
And you were asked those questions on direct examination by Mr. Goldberg.
That conversation occurred before our testimony started.
Which conversation?
A conversation about those documents.
Conversation with Mr. Goldberg or with Ms. Mazzola
With Ms.
about those
Mazzola.
documents? So you had a conversation with Ms. Mazzola about those documents?
But this wasn't in the time frame you were asking about.
Oh, the conversation with Ms. Mazzola about the fact that Mr. Simpson's blood sample was put down as number 18 and the sneakers were put down as number 17 happened before August.
It happened maybe the day after June 13th or possibly June 14th.
And the conversation that you had maybe on June 13th or June 14th with Ms. Mazzola about her recording
June 14th or June 15th.
June 14th or June 15th.
Yes.
Is that the only conversation you've ever had with Ms. Mazzola about this issue?
That's the only one.
This issue is now overbroad.
Overruled.
That's the only one I can recall.
You mean there might have been others, but you can't remember?
I don't remember them.
you went over the evidence collection checklist with Ms. Mazzola prior to testifying here,
Yes.
and you filled in some extra details on the evidence collection checklist,
Yes.
and that checklist contained each of the items that you collected, you and Ms. Mazzola,
Yes.
and you were discussing with her who collected it, me or you.
Yes.
And you went all the way down the list of all these items of evidence.
Yes.
And you're telling us that when it came to Mr. Simpson's blood sample, you and she had no discussion.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't recall the discussion, or if there was a discussion about it.
So you're now telling us that there might have been a discussion with Ms. Mazzola about the collection of Mr. Simpson's blood sample after August, but you can't recall it.
That's argumentative.
Phrase the question.
Are you now saying, sir, that there might have been a conversation after August with Ms. Mazzola about the collection of Mr. Simpson's blood sample?
Still argumentative.
Oh,
I think I've stated that before.
So there could have been a conversation about it after August, but you just don't remember it.
I don't remember a conversation about that subject matter.
Now, when you got back to the lab on the afternoon of June 13th, you're telling us that you had with you this gray manila envelope that contained Mr. Simpson's blood sample.
Yes.
Is there any record in the crime laboratory's computer tracking system that indicates where you put that blood sample on the evening of June 13th?
The evidence tracking system does not take that type of pre-booked evidence into account.
If you were to put something in the refrigerator or the freezer in the serology lab, doesn't somebody have to hit a barcode to open the door of the serology freezer?
I'm
Staying over for August, pre or post
pre or post
booking.
sustained. Rephrase the question.
Anytime someone opens the freezer in the serology laboratory, are they not supposed to hit some kind of barcode?
I'm not familiar with the serology policy of evidence moving.
Well, is there a computer record at the evidence collection unit that indicates where this blood sample was on the evening of June 13th?
One would not exist.
So there is no such record at the ECU, correct?
That's not a record that's kept
Do
for
you
pre-booked
have
bloods.
a written record anywhere, in any form, indicating where you put Mr. Simpson's blood sample on the evening of June 13th?
Where I put it?
Yeah.
No.
Now, you told us on direct examination that you were trying to record items that you collected in chronological order.
I attempt to do that, yes.
And on June 13th, Andrea Mazzola was taking notes about the items collected.
On June,
13th.
yes.
And you told us that after you first left the Rockingham scene in the morning, you and Miss Mazzola sat down together and you did an inventory, correct?
That's correct.
And you checked each item of evidence together.
That's correct.
And I think you told us yesterday that after you left the Bundy scene, you did the same thing. You did an inventory, checking the items together.
That's correct.
And you told us yesterday that after you left the Rockingham scene, in the afternoon, you and Miss Mazzola conducted that same kind of inventory where you checked each item together.
That's correct.
And in that inventory, the afternoon of June 13th, where you were checking the items together with Miss Mazzola, did you show her the gray envelope containing Mr. Simpson's blood sample?
We had not obtained that sample yet when we conducted the inventory, evidence inventory.
So you're now saying that the evidence inventory withdrawn. Did you conduct the evidence inventory in the crime scene truck, as you told us before?
No, because the media was out there and we wanted to do it out of the eyes of the media, so we did it within the residence.
So you couldn't have, you didn't, when you left Rockingham in the morning, did you conduct the evidence inventory in the crime scene truck?
Rockingham in the morning?
Yeah.
Yes, because the media wasn't there yet.
When you left Bundy in the afternoon, did you conduct the evidence inventory in the crime scene truck?
Not in the truck, no.
Where'd you do it?
It was where we set up our crime scene kit,
Well, where's that?
someplace near the front of the residence. I don't recall exactly where we set up the crime scene kit. I think it was out near the sidewalk.
Near the sidewalk in front of 875 Bundy?
Yes,
You did the evidence inventory on the sidewalk outside of 875 Bundy at around 3 in the afternoon.
Misstates the testimony.
Overruled.
I don't recall exactly where it was, but it was around that area, yes.
Well, if you did it in front of the sidewalk at 875 Bundy around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, weren't there people there with videotapes, cameras, taking pictures?
There may have been, yes.
Well, so you're now going to, so it's now you're saying, Mr. Fung, that before you left the house at Rockingham, you and Miss Mazzola sat down and went through each item and did the inventory. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes.
And where did this all take place?
Within the residence.
Where?
I don't recall exactly where it was. I don't recall.
Was it up in the master bedroom?
Your Honor, assisting with recalling authentication.
Overruled.
I don't recall.
Was it in that foyer area?
I don't recall.
Are you not able to recall this, Mr. Fung? Because as you sit there, you're wondering that if you put it in some particular room, there might be people that could be placed at that location who would then have to come in and corroborate it.
Sustained.
Now, in terms of timing, Mr. Fung, at around 5 o'clock, item 16 was collected.
Yes.
And it was after item 16 that was picked up that you and Ms. Mazzola did this inventory.
Yes.
And item 16 was picked up the front of the front door of Mr. Simpson's residence.
Yes.
And item 15 was picked up in that foyer area.
In a bathroom.
And you can't recall whether, after that item was picked up, in that foyer area, you and Ms. Mazzola did this inventory.
I don't recall exactly where we did the inventory, but it was within that residence.
So you're saying that the inventory was done and everything was placed into the truck during that first trip when you put the paper bags into the back of the crime scene truck?
Items 11 through 16 were placed in the back of the crime scene truck, yes.
All right. That's when we see you putting in the paper bag and Ms. Mazzola's putting in the posse box.
Yes.
So now you're saying that Mr. Simpson's gray manila envelope with the blood sample in it was put into that black plastic trash bag that Ms. Mazzola was carrying.
To the best of my recollection, yes.
And did you place it in the trash bag in her sight, in her presence?
I don't think so. I don't recall.
You just said, I don't think so, and then you said, I don't recall.
That's right.
Now, do you have some concerns, Mr. Fung, that Ms. Mazzola is not going to come into this courtroom withdrawn? Do you have some concerns, Mr. Fung, about Ms. Mazzola coming into this courtroom and saying that she recalls you placing this gray manila envelope with the blood sample in it into that plastic bag?
Do I have
Concerns?
concerns about it?
Yes,
Whether she'll say that or not?
yes.
At this point, yes.
And your concern, sir, is based on the fact that you have knowledge that she has previously testified that she does not recall seeing Detective Van Adder hand you the gray manila envelope on June 13th.
I object, Your Honor, it assumes facts without evidence.
Sustained. Ask him a foundational question.
Mr. Fung, do you think it would refresh your recollection to see Ms. Mazzola's testimony in August with respect to the collection of items at Rockingham on the afternoon of June 13th?
There's no foundation for that, no.
Call roll.
I don't see how it would.
You don't think that looking at her testimony might refresh your recollection as to things she has said to you in conversations about whether you received the blood sample from Detective Van Adder
I'm not sure if it would or not. I don't know.
Now, in your conversations with Ms. Mazzola about the events of the afternoon of June 13th, did it come to your attention that she recalled leaving Rockingham earlier than you recalled it?
I don't remember discussing that with her.
In your conversations with Ms. Mazzola about the events of the afternoon of June 13th, did she ever indicate to you that she remembered leaving just a few minutes after 5?
Still no foundation. Seems speculary.
Call roll.
Your Honor, it's also for the same.
Your Honor, I'd like to approach the witness and show him some testimony.
You may. Show counsel what it is. Before we do that, let me see counsel at the sidebar with the court reporter. to take a break at this point. All right, ladies and gentlemen, remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves, form any opinions about the case. Don't allow anybody to have contact with you. Do not conduct any deliberations till the matter has been submitted to you. We'll take a 15-minute break. Mr. Fung, you may step down, sir.
Clarification
No,
at sidebar?
Let me let the jurors go.
Okay, all right.
After having looked at these pages, does it refresh your recollection that in your conversations with Ms. Mazzola, I'm sorry?
Does it refresh his recollection first
All
about
right.
conversations with Ms. Mazzola?
Having looked at these pages, is your recollection in any way refreshed with respect to conversations you've had with Ms. Mazzola?
I don't recall having conversations about those particular topics.
All right. Are you saying, Mr. Fung, that in your conversations with Ms. Mazzola prior to coming in here to testify, she did not indicate to you that she was with you from the entire time?
Sustained.
Has Ms.
Hearsay.
Mazzola ever told you?
It's hearsay, sustained.
I'm asking what Ms. Mazzola said to him.
It's hearsay,
Not for the truth of the matter asserted, for the fact that it was said to her.
hearsay. Without any further foundation. Proceed.
You had conversations with Ms. Mazzola prior to testifying here.
Yes,
And in these conversations, you discussed what items of evidence were picked up and when.
that was touched on, yes.
And that's part of the way that you made those corrections, or those additions, I should say, on the evidence collection sheets.
Yes,
And in those conversations, did Ms. Mazzola indicate to you that she was with you from the entire time?
Finish the question.
That she was with you the entire time after you picked up the last item at Rockingham at about 5 o'clock until you departed for the next designation?
Hearsay.
Overruled at this point.
We never discussed that, no.
In your conversations with Ms. Mazzola prior to coming here and testifying, did she indicate to you that she believed that that the two of you had left the Rockingham location a few minutes after 5?
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Overruled. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm allowing these questions and answers for the limited purpose, not assuming that the answer, that the implication of the answer, excuse me, the question, let me start again. I'm allowing this evidence for a limited purpose. That is whether or not this statement was made to Mr. Fung, not whether or not that statement is in fact true. Mr. Scheck,
May I put the last question to the witness?
you may.
Mr. Fung, in your conversations with Ms. Mazzola prior to your testimony, did she ever indicate to you that she recalled leaving Rockingham a few minutes after 5?
I don't recall having discussed that.
Did you ever see any document where Ms. Mazzola indicated that she thought the two of you had left Rockingham before 5:20?
If I can refer to my notes. I don't recall any document, no.
And the notes you just looked at, Mr. Fung, those were the crime scene checklist for Rockingham.
Yes.
And that's a document of 4 pages. Well, the first 4 pages are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
And on the 4th page of that document, there is a line that indicates time left scene.
Yes.
We'll get back to that in a minute. And that's ordinarily where somebody writes down the time that they left the scene.
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola was the one that was taking notes.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Fung, you've told us that the gray manila envelope with Mr. Simpson's blood sample was placed by you into a trash bag.
A plastic trash bag.
Is that correct?
That's what I remember.
All right. Where'd you get the trash bag?
I asked one of the detectives to find one for me, to
So-
find some type of bag that I could put the envelope in.
And this was when you returned into Mr. Simpson's house?
This was after receiving the envelope.
Well, when you went back inside to Mr. Simpson's house after putting the brown paper bags and the valise in the car, you didn't have a black plastic bag with you.
I had no idea that I would...
Did you have a black plastic bag with you?
No.
Did Ms. Mazzola have a black plastic bag with her?
No.
And so you're now saying you went back into the Rockingham location at that time.
Argument is phrased.
Sustain, rephrase the question.
You went, as depicted on the videotape, back into Rockingham for one last look.
Yes.
You picked up those yellow evidence cards.
On the way back in, yes.
And then you got back inside to Rockingham.
Yes.
And was at that point that you asked some detective for a black plastic bag?
No.
you got inside to Rockingham, and that's when you saw Detective Van Adder in the foyer.
At some point after I went in, yes.
And was Detective Van Adder carrying a black duffel bag?
I don't recall if he was or not.
And was Detective Van Adder carrying a clipboard?
I don't recall if he was or not.
All you remember is that he had this gray manila envelope.
I do remember him giving it to me.
And you remember who was there when this gray manila envelope was handed off?
I don't remember everybody who was there.
Well, since we last broke, you now have had an opportunity to talk with the prosecutors about the videotapes.
Yes.
And have they discussed anything with you about who else was there?
No.
Have they discussed with you anything about what Ms. Mazzola may be testifying to?
No.
Was Ms. Mazzola there?
I don't recall her being there when I accepted the envelope from Detective Van Adder.
So it's you and Detective Van Adder.
I know that.
Who else? As you sit here today, you independently remember.
That just states the testimony.
Overruled.
I don't specifically remember anybody else, but I do know there were other people there.
And he gave you the gray manila envelope, and then you looked in it.
Counsel, I think we broached this subject yesterday. Who was there?
Right.
When it was transferred?
Just
what he did.
foundational.
This is like the third time we're going through this.
I
now.
understand. After you looked in the envelope, was it then that you asked somebody to get a plastic bag?
I asked if somebody could find a bag of some sort so that I could place the envelope inside.
Who did you ask?
Nobody in particular. I just asked in general for somebody to find me something to put the bag or the envelope in.
Do you remember who gave it to you?
It was one of the detectives.
Where did they give it to you?
It was in the kitchen.
Where was Miss Mazzola?
I don't know.
Was she around?
I don't know.
And then you were given this plastic bag and you put the gray manila envelope in the plastic bag?
That's to the best of my recollection, yes.
And when you did that, where was Miss Mazzola?
I don't know.
And you walked out of the kitchen then?
I don't know what I did right after I put the envelope in the bag.
After you put the envelope in the bag, did there come a point soon after where you saw Miss Mazzola?
Eventually I did see her, but I don't know when.
How many minutes?
I don't know.
More than 2 or 3?
I don't recall how many minutes from the time I put the envelope in the bag to when I saw her next.
Did you see her next inside the Rockingham residence?
I can only tell from the video. I don't recall exactly when I saw her next.
Well, from the video, you know, you walked out the Rockingham residence with Miss Mazzola.
Yes.
And you, at some point, handed her this black plastic bag.
At some point, from the video, yes.
And when you handed her that black plastic bag, did you say to her, Miss Mazzola, here's a black plastic bag, and inside it is a gray manila envelope with Mr. Simpson's blood sample? Did you tell her that?
No foundation, personal knowledge.
Overruled.
I didn't tell her that, or I don't remember telling her that, or I don't remember saying anything like that.
Which?
I just don't remember.
Well, did you tell her, in substance, here's, withdraw. At that time, didn't you have some concerns about carrying a manila envelope with a blood vial in it?
Yes.
You certainly wouldn't want to have that blood vial broken.
No, I wouldn't.
That's a piece of evidence that you want to carry with a great deal of care.
Yes.
And if you're giving it to Miss Mazzola, you're going to want her to carry it with a great deal of care.
Yes.
And you're telling us when you handed her the blood vial in the manila envelope that's inside the plastic bag, you didn't say to her, Miss Mazzola, here's the blood vial, a blood sample from Mr. Simpson that I was just given by Detective Van Adder. Carry it carefully.
I don't remember saying that.
You just, to the best of your recollection, handed her a plastic bag with Mr. Simpson's blood sample in it and never told her what was in it.
This takes testimony that he was
Sustained.
Did you tell her what was in that black plastic bag when you handed it to her?
Your Honor, it's arguing
Oral, not as phrased.
I don't recall if I did or not. I don't remember.
All right, let's move on.
And then the two of you walked out of Rockingham,
Yes.
and you went into the crime scene truck.
Yes.
And when you went into the between the time that you left and the time you got to the crime scene truck, did you tell Miss Mazzola what was in that black plastic bag?
I don't recall talking to her at all.
When you got inside the crime scene truck, where did you go and where did she go?
She eventually went to the passenger seat and I went into the driver's seat.
What did she do with the plastic bag that contained Mr. Simpson's blood sample?
I don't recall if she put it in, if I unlocked the back door for her and she put it in, or if we put it, or if she put it in the passenger compartment.
Well, when she was putting it somewhere in the truck, did you tell her, Miss Mazzola, what's in that plastic bag is Mr. Simpson's blood sample. Put it in a certain place. Be careful with it.
I don't recall saying that to her.
Do you recall, withdrawn, did you ever, when you got back into the crime scene truck, tell Miss Mazzola what was in the plastic bag?
it's been asked and answered.
Sustained.
I don't recall.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't have to answer that question.
Proceed.
At some point, after you got back in the crime scene truck, the two of you drove back to SID.
Yes.
And at that time, you took evidence out of the crime scene truck and you brought it into the evidence processing room.
Yes.
And at that time, did you and Ms. Mazzola conduct an inventory of all the items that you collected?
I know I did.
Was she there assisting?
She may have been.
And during that inventory, did you tell her, inside that plastic bag is Mr. Simpson's blood vial in a manila envelope?
I don't recall talking to her about that item of evidence.
All right, when you got back to the evidence processing room, you and Ms. Mazzola went through a process you told us of taking blood swatches out of coin envelopes and putting them into test tubes.
Yes.
At some point before you began that process, did you indicate to Ms. Mazzola that Mr. Simpson's blood sample was in a gray manila envelope and inside that plastic bag?
I don't recall talking to her about that sample on that day.
At some point when you got back to the evidence processing room, did either of you take the gray manila envelope out of the black plastic bag?
No.
It was kept in the black plastic bag.
During that night, yes.
Where did you put it?
I put all the evidence on one of the tables in the evidence processing room.
You put Mr. Simpson's blood sample, which was in a gray manila envelope, inside the plastic bag on top of the table in the evidence processing room.
That's where I put all the evidence that day.
And you left it there.
Yes.
And you didn't put it in any refrigerator.
No, I didn't.
Did you tell anybody in the laboratory that you would come back with Mr. Simpson's blood vial in that gray manila envelope in that black plastic bag?
No.
Did you was Greg Matheson in the laboratory when you returned?
I don't recall seeing him.
There's a stockroom refrigerator outside the door of the evidence processing room.
Yes, there is.
You didn't even take Mr. Simpson's blood sample and put it in the stockroom refrigerator?
I wouldn't do that, no.
And it's your testimony that you never, to the best of your recollection, told Ms. Mazzola what was inside that black plastic bag.
Not on that day, no. To the best of my recollection, I don't recall talking to her about that item of evidence on that day.
When you came back to the evidence processing room on the morning of June 14th, did you see the black plastic bag containing Mr. Simpson's blood sample in it?
I don't specifically remember it, but the items of evidence were all accounted for.
So when you entered the evidence processing room, that the gray manila envelope was still inside the black plastic bag.
I did not observe or detect any of my evidence from the night before having been disturbed.
Well, when you entered the evidence processing room, was there anybody with you?
I don't recall.
Was Ms. Mazzola with you?
I don't recall.
And I take it that you, alone, with nobody around, removed the gray manila envelope from the black plastic bag.
I don't recall if anybody was with me or not. I don't remember.
Mr. Fung, none of this ever happened in terms of putting that gray manila envelope in that plastic bag. Isn't that right?
That's incorrect.
That's something that you made up when the judge asked you the question this morning, what's in that black plastic bag?
No.
That's why you have now recounted that you never told Ms. Mazzola once on the afternoon what was in that black plastic bag.
That's not what I said.
That's why you're now telling us when you went back into the evidence processing room the next morning, no one else was there to see you remove this blood sample from the black plastic bag.
Misstates the testimony.
Sustain or phrase the question.
You don't remember anybody being there when you removed the blood sample from the black plastic bag.
Misstates the testimony.
Overruled.
I don't recall if anybody was there with me or not.
Your Honor, I'd like to now mark by whatever means the court would like. I would like to show the original copies of the crime scene investigation checklist.
Original copies?
Yes,
He
the
means
originals. Thank you. The documents that have been brought to us that purport to be originals of the crime scene investigation checklist
The
for
4
Rockingham.
pages? The 4-page sheet.
It's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 pages that are numbered, a 5th page designated field notes, and on the back of the 5th page, there is writing. A 6th page designated field notes that's blank, and in the back page of that is a diagram. A 7th page that is the evidence collection checklist, and on the back of that, there is another diagram. And what did I say? This is the 7th page, which is a second evidence collection checklist. Is that
That's
8
8
altogether?
pages. 8 pages.
8 pages.
All right, those pages will be 1107.
I'm sorry, I thought we weren't going to introduce any of the originals so that we could maintain custody of our originals pursuant to a prior agreement.
If there's a reason to use the originals, I'll allow their use. However, there'll be substitutions for the record later. Proceed.
Now, earlier, Mr. Fung, you were shown a copy of this page by the prosecution, and it was introduced into evidence on your direct examination.
Yes.
All right. And this piece of paper contains handwriting of Andrea Mazzola,
Yes.
where she lists various items.
Yes.
And when you say this page, which page are we talking about?
It's the page in back of the field notes.
First page of field notes?
All right.
All right.
I'll give you a number in terms of the actual pages. It is the 5th page, and it's the back of the 5th page, and I'd like to put this on the Now, in this document, document, you can read along if it helps with your copy if you want, refers to item 17, 1 pair tennis shoes Reebok, received in serology by D. Fung from Detective Lang, correct?
Yes.
And up in the upper right-hand corner, just where D. Fung is, there's a date, 6/14/94.
That's correct.
And below that is written item 18, blood sample in tube from Simpson.
That's correct.
And item 19 is hair from item number 9.
Yes.
And that is, item number 9 is the Rockingham glove.
Yes.
And the hair that's being referred to is a hair that you removed on the morning of June 14th.
Yes.
And the sneakers are sneakers that you received in the morning on June 14th.
Yes.
And it's your testimony that the blood sample from Mr. Simpson you did not receive after the sneakers on the morning of June 14th.
I received the sneakers on June 13th at 5/20.
And on direct examination, you mentioned that you saw this document when you came back to the laboratory on June 14th.
At some point, when I was writing my property report, I saw this document.
I'm sorry, did you misspeak and say that you got the 13th, the sneakers on the 13th?
I believe
You got the sneakers on the 14th.
I got the sneakers on the 14th, I got the blood on the 13th.
Now, you might have seen this document then, not on June 14th, but June 15th. You said you saw it around the time you were writing up your property report.
Possibly.
So you're not sure whether it's the 14th or the 15th that you saw this document?
It was when I was writing my property reports. I could check. It was on the 14th.
So on the 14th, you saw this document.
Yes.
And when you looked at it, you decided that you didn't like the order in which Ms. Mazzola had put down the receipt of these items.
When I was writing my property report, I wanted to save on paperwork, so I changed the order of the item numbers that she had written down.
And then on, this is page 8 of the Rockingham report. In your evidence collection sheet, you told us that you went back and you changed what Ms. Mazzola had written as 17 under sample item, correct? Top of that page is a reference to the item received by you from Detective Lang, the sneakers.
Yes, the very top line?
Yes.
Yes.
And Ms. Mazzola had written 17 there.
At one point in time, yes, there was a 17 there.
And you changed that to an 8.
Yes.
And then below that indicated 17 for the blood sample.
Yes.
And on direct examination, you said you did that on June 15th.
Misstates the testimony.
When did you do it?
It was either the 14th or the 15th. I don't recall.
And on the morning of June 14th, you gave Colin Yamauchi Mr. Simpson's blood vial,
On the morning of
the 14th.
14th,
The record should reflect the witness's refreshing his recollection. This book.
Yes. with
May I
his notes.
approach the witness?
You may.
to the best of my recollection, that's when it was on the 14th that I released custody to him.
And he poured off some blood and gave it back to you.
No foundation for personal knowledge. Also,
Stain.
a
Did Mr. Yamauchi then return the blood vial to you on the morning of the 14th?
After I gave it to him, he did return it to me, yes.
Did you actually see him taking blood out of the blood vial on the morning of the 14th?
I don't recall seeing him doing that.
Now, on direct examination, you were asked whether or not you recalled what item number you told Colin Yamauchi the blood vial was.
I don't recall that testimony.
Well, do you recall that you were asked that question and you said you didn't remember which item number you told Colin Yamauchi the blood vial was on the morning of June 14th?
I don't recall what my testimony was at that point.
Okay. Do you recall whether or not you told Colin Yamauchi what item number you had designated the blood vial on June 14th?
I told, or from records that I have come in contact with, I told him it was 18.
When did you first learn that Mr. Yamauchi had recorded the blood vial as being item 18, not 17?
When did I first learn this?
Yes.
After I had written my property reports, I went to tell him that I had changed the item numbers, and that's when I found out that he had written the report and put down the item number as 18.
And was this a cause for concern that Mr. Yamauchi had written down number 18 for the blood vial and not number 17?
Begs concern.
Sustained.
Was this a cause of concern for you that Mr. Yamauchi had actually written down number 18 as the blood vial, not 17?
As a matter of keeping things clean, as far as having to write follow-up reports, yes, it was a concern to me.
Well, you said it was a matter of keeping things clean.
Paperwork-wise, yes.
Well, weren't you very concerned that if the record showed the blood vial being received after the sneakers, that might reveal that the blood vial was actually received on the morning of June 14th, not on the afternoon of June 13th?
That was not a concern, no.
Never entered your mind.
I was more concerned about having to write up a follow-up report.
So that thought never entered your mind.
No.
Never a concern that anybody might look at this mislabeling and think that the blood vial had not been transferred to you on the afternoon of the 13th, but actually had been turned over on the morning of the 14th.
Objection to the witness labeling is misstated in testimony.
Sustained.
No concern on your part that the fact that Mr. Yamauchi had labeled it 18, not 17, might lead someone to question whether or not you had actually received the blood vial on the afternoon of the 13th as opposed to the morning of the 14th.
That did not occur to me.
At some time after June 15th, did anybody ever question you about how the blood vial had been labeled 18 in Mr. Yamauchi's reports, but you put it in your property report as 17?
In testimony, yes.
It arose for the first time in testimony?
Being questioned about it, yes.
No one in the laboratory ever came to you and asked you how something like this could happen, that Mr. Yamauchi had recorded the blood vial as 18, but in your property report you said it was 17?
I told Mr. Matheson about it. I told Colin that I had done it. The
Colin-
changing of
Colin is who?
Mr. Yamauchi, I'm sorry. I told Mr. Yamauchi that I had changed the item number. I'd flipped them around. And that was the conversations that I had.
And that conversation happened around when?
Shortly after I had written the property reports and was going to tell him that I had changed the item numbers.
And that was in June.
Yes.
Did anybody come to you in July and question you about the fact that the blood vial had been labeled 18 in Mr. Yamauchi's records, but 17 in your property report?
No.
No conversation about that at all in July?
None that I can recall.
No concern in your part in July about the fact that there had been this confusion, as you put it, between 17 and 18?
It wasn't
Or
it wasn't confusing to me.
All right. No concern, did anything in the month of July cause you to go back over your crime scene checklist records and make changes?
I may have gone in and added some information that I had remembered and added things that I recalled into the crime scene checklist.
Oh, but nothing concerning this question of 17 and 18?
No.
Now, you know Mr. Yamauchi, God. You know Mr. Yamauchi, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Now, you know, Mr. Fung, that questions have been raised about whether or not all the blood in Mr. Simpson's blood sample can be accounted for.
sustained rephrase the question.
All right? Are you aware that the defense has raised questions about whether or not all the blood in Mr. Simpson's blood sample can be accounted for?
Overruled.
I am aware of that.
And before the defense raised these questions at this trial, did anyone in the laboratory ever ask you any questions about whether or not there had been any tampering with Mr. Simpson's blood vial?
I don't recall anybody asking me if it was tampered with, no.
Well, were there any questions asked of you about that subject by Ms. Kessler?
I don't recall her asking me
Mr.
that.
Matheson?
I don't recall him asking me that.
Was there any ever, were you ever asked any questions by an investigator from the district attorney's office about possible tampering with Mr. Simpson's blood vial?
No.
Now, didn't you go back and look at these records in July to see whether or not you had adequately covered your tracks about the fact that you really...
Let's rephrase that question,
All right.
counsel.
Did you look back through these records, these crime scene checklist records in July, with the concern that there might be something there that would reveal that you really didn't receive Mr. Simpson's blood vial in the afternoon of June 13th, but you really received it on the morning of the 14th?
That was not a concern to me because that's not what happened.
Okay? I direct your attention to, there's an erasure, is there not, between items 17 and 18 on this document.
Yes, there is.
And what had been there before was a circle and a 7-5-94, and underneath it, your initials, DF.
That appears to be what appears to be on the screen, yes.
And then there's...
Counsel, if you're showing him potential erasures on the Elmo, why don't you show him the original document?
Please take your time and examine it.
Okay.
Now, in that erased portion, you had written 7-5-94 within a circle, and within that circle, you put your initials DF.
Yes.
And you put a line with an arrow on the top of it and an arrow on the bottom of it
Yes.
to indicate that those items should be switched, 17 and 18, as written on that piece of paper.
I don't know why I wrote it, but yes, it's there.
So you took a look at that piece of paper, and you became concerned about the fact that the sneakers were 17 and the blood vial was 18, right?
Yes.
And that was in July, when you were going through these pages, that you had that concern.
Apparently, yes.
And then, after writing that notation, you decided to erase it.
I did erase it. From what's here, yes.
And in going through the pages of the crime scene checklist, you saw another document that created a problem for you, didn't you?
What are you referring to?
I'm referring to page 4 of the crime scene checklist.
What about it?
Page 4 of the crime scene checklist has a box indicating disposition of evidence. I should say disposition of scene.
Yes.
Put this up on the... Okay. Page 4 has a box indicating evidence book 2,
Yes.
evidence book by,
Yes.
disposition of scene,
Yes.
and most importantly, sir, it has a box indicating time leaving scene.
I don't know if that's the most important box, but there is a blank there.
There's a box there that indicates time leaving scene, doesn't it?
Yes, there is a box there.
And Ms. Mazzola had been the one that was filling out these reports.
She was filling out the crime scene checklist that day.
And Ms. Mazzola was under the impression that you had left the Rockingham scene earlier than 5:20, wasn't she?
Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
Do you know if Ms. Mazzola was under the impression in June that the two of you had left Rockingham before 5:20?
Calls for hearsay.
Overruled.
I don't know when she thought we left Rockingham.
5:20 is the time that you wrote on the gray envelope you received it from Detective Van Adder.
Yes, it is.
If there were something filled in there that said 5:15 as to the time leaving scene, that would be inconsistent with what you wrote on the gray envelope you received from Detective Van Adder.
Argumentative, Your Honor.
Overruled.
If there was that time there, yes, it would.
And that's why you destroyed the original page 4, Mr. Fung.
That's not true.
Mr. Fung, I'm going to show you each of the originals of this crime scene checklist. I want you to look at them, and I want you to look at the upper left-hand corner of each of the pages. And that would include, let me put it in order for you.
You may.
Why don't you and Mr. Goldberg look at the left-hand corners, all those pages of the crime scene checklist, very, very carefully.
This one appears-
One of those pages doesn't have staple holes in it, Mr. Fung.
That's correct.
That's page 4, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's because that page 4 is not the original page 4.
That's apparent to me now, yes?
That's because you got rid of the original page 4. Isn't that true, Mr. Fung?
That's not true.
That's because it had the wrong time on it. Isn't that true?
If it had the wrong time, no, that's not true.
Your Honor, I'd like to do two more things, and I'm finished questioning this witness. What I would like to do is first have printed out on the Elmo a copy of the document with the erasure. And then I would ask that each of these documents be handed to the jury so they can examine them.
All right, let's print out this document on the Elmo.
This is printed out of 1107A, and, well, the printout will be 1107.
You can get on that, Mr. Harris.